has actually experienced climate change in its worst form as far as it is today. Since 1994, the climate has been, temperatures have been increasing every year, year on, year out. Every other year is more for a long time, other than 2020, year 2021, COVID that came to save us. The temperatures have been growing up all through. But this year is actually turning out to be even compensate what been doing in 2020. So global weather patterns, the increase in temperature are hitting us now. And we don't have much time because we are told that if this continues up to 2035, we may never revert back. For example, the Savo National Park may never go back to where it was in 1990, where animals are thriving, because most of the species would have been wiped out by drought. So it is our time now. We should be acting now. In fact, we should have started acting like yesterday, like common language to say we have been done last year or even before. We should have started mitigating climate change more than 20 years ago when we started losing control of the weather. That's the way.
Absolutely. So a couple of days ago, we had an interview with Ndegwa Wahome, who is the chair of the County Assembly's Forum, and he stated something. He said that Kenya is known globally for having so many good written facts on paper. As we looked at the COP26, there were so many good written plans on paper, but when it comes to implementation, that is where we fail as a country. So is that what is being experienced in the environmental sector, where we have laid out so many plans, we've stated so many strategies that should be done so as to mitigate the climatic action in the country, but nothing is done at the end of the day?
It's very true, Morgan, that Kenya, we are very brilliant. We have to do very good policies, and some countries don't even put that in policies. Just for Kenya to do them, then they come Kenya Gazette, they buy a copy of that act, and they go and implement it. Whatever Kenyans are put on paper must be correct, must be thoroughly researched, and they just actually implement it. And they actually beat us at the finishing line. We have countries that banned plastic before us. Yet they used our policy, the document we were using. When we were fighting ourselves here in courts trying to have injection on our own policies. Other countries pick those and they learn with them. The same is happening even with the climate change adaptation. We know what needs to be done. We are actually some of the best scientists in the world. And it's also fortunate that the United Nations Environment Program is actually domiciled here in Kenya, meaning that whatever discussion about climate that is taking place anywhere in the world, it's actually implemented here at the United Nations Environment Program. But then when it comes to implementation, we are slow at doing that. We put too much arguments on whether a tree should be planted, whether that tree should be cultivated for timber in 5-10 years, and we forget that the weather is actually running amok. We don't have control of climate change, and instead of us dwelling on technicalities, we should actually be implementing those policies. The president, in his speech yesterday at the Economic Conference, cited 7 strategies the country is going to. We talked about smart agriculture, we talked about planting trees in schools as a way of encouraging deforestation. We cutting of forest, down of forest, electricity generation using solar, and the connection to grid that help us to reduce the amount of coal we are using, or even diesel. We talked about smart agriculture, where we breed animals and we expand hatch conditions. We talked about rainfall harvesting. But you'll be surprised that beyond that stage, our county executives will just go back to reset button. Next week, we'll be back to normal with those projects, probably not implemented next year or when we have another pandemic. So we are at implementation.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
quite curious.
Thank you so much for your response on that. Now it's time to take a short break. We will be right back with more as we get to delve into matters of climate change. Remember, climate tops the agenda of the 7th and final annual devolution conference. Is there too much talk and less implementation? Now we'll get to delve more into these matters as we will be right back. To stay tuned.
TV47, the home of untold stories. You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back to the Morning Cafe. Now, before we take a short break, we are still having Daniel Wanjuki, who is an environmentalist and the CEO of Ecosave Africa, on standby with us as we get to delve into the matters of climate change in accordance with the 7th Annual Conference Devolution that was launched yesterday. So, Daniel, yesterday Raila Odinga stated that moving forward as a nation, we need a national climate council organization and situated within the presidency. So, will this work, or is it just old talk as well?
Thank you, Madam. That conference, the Operation Conference, will be there for our governors as we go forward. Since they have actually remembered us last, I don't know why they would call it last one. Yes, very good learning point for any governor, any new governor. By attending this conference, they would actually benefit from the knowledge that other governors have amassed. We know already that some counties like Makueni, Kitui, Mandela, some counties are very far ahead in terms of climate change adaptation, in terms of resilience, adapting to what we are calling better resilient food production methods, such that countries like Makueni are now concentrating more on honey, mango growing, which is doing very well there, but doing less on maize, which has actually failed. So those are skills that the Devolution Conference impart in our new governors come to 2020. So by putting the Climate Change Adaptation Council within the presidency, maybe the hope is that former Prime Minister thought that since it's a very important docket, it should actually have the funding that normally comes to the president's office, and the implementation of such a project should actually be done at national level. We know that already that some counties have done very well in that, but others actually have not done anything. But of Nairobi County has done completely nothing other than probably doing borehole. There's nothing, no climate change adaptation that has been done within Nairobi. Okay, the infrastructure projects are helping in maybe quick access to offices for workers, but it is actually an additional cost to the environment in terms of the structure. You can see the way we have done the trade, having that in Uhuru Park by doing the infrastructure. So our adaptation should actually be very focused on need in the future, and that is probably why the former Prime Minister proposed that should be in the president's.
Absolutely. So there was a statement that was made yesterday by a UN resident coordinator, and he stated that what was witnessed at the backdrop of COP26, that was a glass half full, stating that also it targeted on the cuts and cash when it comes to cuts on cutting the carbon emissions, and when it comes to cash, saying that funding has been the biggest challenge. So why has funding been the biggest challenge when it comes to dealing with environmental factors?
So funding is the biggest problem. Even at COP26, most of our African countries are hoping to get $100 billion that was promised some 4 years ago. Like I joke that we went there like we were going for a dowry presentation, but we were told we only wanted you to come and see our home. That's what happened at COP26. Countries expected funding that would help us mitigate climate change or even help us with climate. But that money did not come from the donors, and there was no clear-cut way of how it's going to be done going forward. So the same, when you say climate change requires planting of trees, that means it's not a financial thing. This actually countries must commit money from now for the next years to grow trees in areas where there are no trees. And this is funding for such projects becomes not very attractive, especially for people who have come to us in a situation where they work in a 5-year cycle, like our competition. All our financial one financial budget. So it's become a big problem. For example, that even our constituencies have 2% of their CDF going to environmental projects. But what do they do actually? Still no county, no constituency projects that can help meet the climate change, or even creating youth projects that help them develop nurseries or even green or smart. So it's very, so when it comes to funding, the things are very tight and nobody wants to talk about. But on that, so I would say that we excel.
So when it comes to the cuts of cutting carbon emissions and embracing renewable energy, how much renewable energy do we need so as to stop climate change?
Thank you. It would mean that we actually stop using petroleum as a source of energy. We also need to think of stop using coal. We should stop extracting minerals that are reducing carbon dioxide in the environment. Some industries that are very polluting should actually be a cap put on them. COP26 proposed a shutdown of some of those industries, but they said they want to step down their activities. So we are very far from actually achieving what COP26 envisions. But look at what we are currently doing in the country. We have a lot of country. All our buildings would be running on solar. We could do that, but there's so much interest in energy production. There are those industry companies that are interested in those in production of energy through the old system, coal and the petroleum. They will not let go of the country to adopt green energy. We have wind energy from Turkana, which is actually being described to be too much of it. It's coming to swallow the budget. The country is actually going through a process of excess energy production because we need a lot of energy from green energy. We are talking about wind power, solar. But then, why are diesel generators, independent power producers, still running? It means there's a problem. We have not been able to shift our mind from the old system into green. Although you're preaching green, like the president in his speech talked about solar energy becoming one of the strategies of combating climate change. But last year, or actually this year, we had VAT being proposed for solar energy, and Kenya Power being advised to take over all processes of energy generation through green processes like wind energy and solar. You would have to go through Kenya Power to get access to your solar energy. Those policies actually passive and are not going to help us achieve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel Wanjuki, for expounding these case of climate change in the country. Thank you so much for expounding that for us. Thank you so much for your time as well. And now that's all that we had on that interview. I definitely wish that we had more time so that we can get to expound on that, as we've definitely delved on the hits and misses of devolution when it comes to climate change.